ton of fancy tools or a huge space to work on projects, but there are some core tools you'll need and others that will save you a lot of time. In this video, we're going to review tools that I suggest always having on hand and others that will save you a lot of trouble but not take up a ton of space.
The basics you'll need for every build are a tape measure, a square, and a pencil. A tape measure is used to measure your projects and is often used from start to finish. When marking my measurements, I like to draw a dart rather than a straight line so it's easy to identify the origin mark. A square can be used to extend your mark across the board so you can better see it when cutting. You can also use a square as a guide for your circular saw and to ensure your work is square. A pencil is necessary to mark your work when using a tape measure or a square. I like using mechanical pencils because you can get it right up to the line you're scoring. Next, we're going to look at the essential tools I use for nearly every project. A circular saw is great for making quick, straight cuts, and you can use jigs to make longer straight cuts like you would with a table saw or mitered cuts to make angles. A drill and a driver often come in a set with batteries. Using one to pre-drill holes and the other to drive in the screws will save you a lot of time in the long run. I recommend staying in the brand family for your battery-operated tools so you only need one charger and the batteries are interchangeable. A Kreg jig is used to make pocket holes and makes for a strong, quick joint that is invisible from the outside of your project. They're great for frames, tables, cabinets, you name it. I use my Kreg jig all the time. All right, let's talk about work surfaces. They're hard to come by in a small space, and it's nice having something that stows away easily, doesn't take up a ton of space, and you don't mind it getting dirty or scuffed up. These Pegasus tables by Works are absolutely indispensable in my small workspace. They're compact when not in use, can be used as sawhorses, or a portable table that can hold up to 300 pounds. Each table comes with 2 bar clamps and 4 clamp dogs that are really useful in securing your work or propping up work for painting or securing together. There are holes in the table that can be used for pre-drilling so you don't drill into your table, and there's also a track system that can be used with the bar clamps or for your circular saw. I have 2 of these and they're absolutely amazing. Next up, we're going to talk about the nice to haves. These tools will make your job a lot easier but aren't always necessary. A nail gun is really handy for finishing projects or fastening trim pieces. For strength, I prefer using screws and a Kreg jig, but a nail gun comes in really handy for certain projects. A jigsaw is also helpful for projects in which you're cutting curves or needing to get into tight spaces. Not always necessary, but definitely nice to have. A random orbit sander is really useful because it makes a quick job of any sanding project. I really like the hook and loop attachments because they're really easy to switch out your sandpaper. Make sure to sand with the grain and be cautious because this guy can dig in real quick. A miter saw is another nice to have. This guy can get pretty loud, so make sure to wear hearing protection. A miter saw is a specialized tool that lets you make cuts at a variety of angles. For example, you could cut a board at 45 degrees on either end for a corner shelf. I recommend getting a sliding miter saw because it extends its reach and doesn't take up a ton of space. This one is 10 inches and it works really well. I honestly use my miter saw all the time, even for straight cuts, because it provides a nice work surface and you don't have to worry as much about keeping a straight line like you do with the circular saw at times. But it's not necessary and it does take up a lot more space than a circular saw does, which is why I included it in this category. I have a small garage that wears a lot of hats. It's not only where I park my car, but it's my workshop, an extra storage space, and it's the only thoroughfare into the backyard. Because of all of that, it's important to me that my tools are compact and organized since it's such a highly trafficked space. I'm also working with a Prius, which honestly is amazing in its capacity. I can easily fit a stack of 8-foot boards in there, and 10-feet boards really aren't a reach. It goes to show that you don't have to have a big truck or a fancy space to get the job done.
He doesn't like it when he thinks I'm talking to myself, like out in the garage filming. But anyways, there are a ton of tools out there, but these are just the ones that I find the most useful, and they also work well in my small multi-use space. Let me know in the comments if there's a tool or a jig that you like to use that I didn't mention, and I would love to hear about it. And let me know if you have any questions about a specific tool too, and we can try and figure it out together.